Hi guys, it's Miss Becker. I just did a presentation for you guys on market research to just kind of take the key concepts and take a look at those together. So chapter 8, I know posted earlier this morning the first assignment, which is the classwork. So let's just take a look. What is market research? Well, the definition of market research is the process of defining a marketing problem and opportunity, systematically collecting and analyzing information, and then making recommendations. So this chapter, we're going to talk about the 5 steps that are done in market research. We've already talked about market research a little bit. This chapter goes into it obviously in much more detail. So the concept should make sense to you. I think that you'll be okay. But obviously make sure you let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So in the market research process, we're going to be defining the problem, right? Which means we need to figure out what the problem is, set some objectives. Then we need to develop a plan. Well, what's our plan going to be to research this problem? Who are we going to take a look at? What are we taking a look at? How are we collecting the data that we need? Then you're going to actually collect that data, right? You're going to be able to do it through a secondary research method and primary, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You're going to develop those findings. So now with all the information that you have, you need to analyze it and present it to whomever it is that you're doing this research with, whether it's a committee or your boss or whomever it is. And then step 5 is taking that action, right? Setting that plan in place. Okay, so defining the problem. So obviously every marketing problem faces research challenges. Research is not easy. That's why there actually are research firms out there, people that go to college just to get a degree in market research. Okay, it's not easy. As you know, you've researched, for little projects that you've had and whatnot, and it's not always easy. So first you need to research your possible objectives. This is basically getting your foot in the water there. You're trying to develop some goals so that you can figure out what it is you're researching and how. And then you got to come up with a plan to measure your success. So you have to measure if that plan worked. Kind of like I'm teaching you through discussion, you're doing some hands-on work yourself, and the way that we really measure if that was successful is the results of your assignments and your tests and quizzes. Okay, so that's kind of like what we're talking about here on a different scale, obviously. Okay, so step 2 is develop the research plan. So this is where you come up with the restrictions that are placed on you. So in other words, what are the potential solutions to the problem? How are we going to collect our data by doing this research? And then we need to determine how we're going to collect it. Are we going to use concepts and just define things? Are we going to use methods, which is approaches that can be used to collect the data? Most likely you're going to use different methods, right? Step 3, well, what is the data? Okay, we're going to collect this data. What do we mean by data? What is data? They're facts and figures related to the project. They're divided into 2 parts, secondary and primary. Okay, this is where we're going to take a look. Your secondary data, those are facts and figures that are already recorded. So when you're looking at secondary data, you're looking at research that somebody else did and then put it out there for you to utilize. Advantages of that, well, it's going to save you time, right? And the cost is low because it's already done. You just have to gather it. Whether you have to pay for it or not, who knows, but the costs are going to be low. Disadvantages, well, it might be out of date. It might be old information. Marketing is constantly changing. Products and services are constantly evolving. So it could be out of date. It also may not be exactly fitting to what it is you are doing your research on. Okay? So secondary data means it's already done for you. Kind of like when you do a research paper, you're finding somebody else's research really, and you're using it to write your paper, right? Then we have primary data. Primary data is facts and figures that are newly collected for this specific product. So if you're going out and you're actually doing the research firsthand, like surveying your potential customers, right? You do a survey, they give you information, that's data that you can use. Advantages to this, well, it's more flexible and more specific to your needs because you know exactly what to do. Disadvantages, well, it's going to be more costly because now you're actually doing the work, also more time consuming. So primary data is that first-hand information that you have found on your own, okay? Depending on what the issue is, what you're researching, it's going to depend on whether secondary data or primary data is the route to go, or if you do a combination of both. Okay, so once you start finding that data, now you need to develop the findings. You need to take the facts that you've found and you just start putting it down, right? You need to make sure that your findings are clear and understandable so that your team that you're working with can take the information and use it to make decisions. The managers are responsible for those plans and for those decisions, whether it's you, the manager, doing the work, the research on your own, or if you're the one finding the research for your managers, you need to be able to present that data to them in a clear and concise way so that they can then develop their plan, right? So they can take their marketing actions. So make action recommendations. So this is where you now say, okay, based on my findings, here's my information, and this is what I think needs to happen. Maybe we need to take our product and we need to update it. We need to change it, make some changes to it to make it more desirable for our client base, right? Maybe that's your recommendation. Then you need to actually put that recommendation into place. You need to implement your plan, okay? Once your plan is implemented and the process has begun, then you need to evaluate your results. You need to say, wow, was it effective? Did the plan work? Did my methods of research work? Is that the way I should have researched? Okay, so you're evaluating the situation, right? Then, now finally now that that's all done, now you need to forecast your sales. Forecasting your sales means that you're basically guessing at what your potential is for selling this product. So sales forecast is your total sales potential of a product that a firm expects to sell during a specific time period and under specific environmental conditions and its own marketing efforts. Environmental conditions meaning of the company, like what is going on, what's the environment like, who's the staff members, all the stakeholders involved, putting this marketing effort together. The techniques that can be used for forecasting, judgments of the decision maker. So you're basically taking one person that's the responsible decision maker that takes all the information and makes the decision on their own. They say, this is how much we're going to sell and this is how we're going to do it. You can also use a survey like we talked earlier, survey the prospective buyers and figure out what the best route to go is, the best way to sell to them. Or you can use statistical methods, looking at a pattern, looking at previous year's data or previous products that are similar, looking at the data from those products and seeing what is the best solution. Okay, so those are some techniques that you can use. Okay guys, so that's chapter 8. I basically took the key information and summarized it for you. Please let me know if you have any questions on it. Please make sure you read the chapter and answer the classwork questions as detailed as you can because that'll help you understand those concepts better. But again, make sure you ask me if you have any questions. I hope everybody is safe and healthy. You will have an assignment that I'll be posting I think at the end of this week. I'm trying to remember when I said I was going to post it. And then, yeah, on Wednesday, I'm going to post your next assignment. That'll be due, I think, at the end of the weekend or the beginning of next week. I can't remember. And then we will have a case study. And then we move on to chapter 10, which will be the end of unit 4. But we'll talk about that stuff later. Okay guys, well, I miss you guys. I wish I could see you. Hopefully we'll be back in school and I will see you soon.